Welcome back, friends. It's Anders. Today we're going to be making 4 whiskey-based cocktails that are perfect for fall. Now, 2 of them are going to be bourbon-based, and 2 of them are going to be rye whiskey-based. And if you are part of that small group of people that believe bourbon is not whiskey, you're wrong. Bourbon is whiskey. Okay? All 4 of these are pretty straightforward, but they are interesting, and there's gonna be some technique involved. We're gonna have smoke, there's gonna be fire, and by the end of it, you will have 4 recipes that you can impress your friends with, maybe even yourself. And these are a perfect alternative to just throwing whiskey into your apple cider. Not that there's anything wrong with that. So, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button for more sips, tips, and recipes, and let's go make 4 whiskey cocktails. To the bar. Number 1, the smoked maple old fashioned. Pretty self-explanatory. Maple is gonna be a big flavor, but also smoky. We're gonna smoke this cocktail. And there's a few different ways that you can actually smoke a drink. I'm gonna show you how I do it. Start in a mixing glass with 1/4 ounce of a really good maple syrup. Nice dark maple syrup. To that, add 2 ounces of bourbon and 3 dashes of walnut bitters. Set that off to the side. At this point, I'm going to incorporate the smoke. Now, how I like to do it is by torching a piece of a bourbon barrel. I realize not everybody's gonna have that. Luckily, there are a number of ways that you can smoke cocktails. Whatever your preferred method is, do that. Protect your surface, take caution, be careful. Flames are dangerous. Capture the smoke with the glass. While that is marinating, we can add ice and stir. About 30 seconds or so. Then this is all gonna have to happen all at once. We are going to turn the glass over and drop in a large chunk of ice. We wanna keep as much smoke in that glass as possible. Now, strain the cocktail onto the ice. It's gonna push that smoke up and over the edge of the glass, and that smoke's gonna incorporate into the drink. I'm gonna express some orange oil across the top, hit the sides, and we will turn that into a garnish and garnish along with a cocktail cherry. There we have the smoked maple old fashioned. Cheers. I mean, what's not to like about an old fashioned? Maple and bourbon are really just 2 things that go really well together. Also, I like the little nuttiness from the walnut. The walnut bitters kind of tones down the sweetness. And we started with a banger. We can relax, we can chill out, but I would like to show you the next cocktail. So let's keep it rolling. Number 2, the Junior. That's the name of this cocktail, the Junior. It actually has a second name known as the Quick Recovery. It leads you to believe it's kind of a corpse reviver type cocktail, a hair of the dog cocktail for the next day. Anyway, this cocktail is a classic, dates back to the 1930s, and David Wondrich dug this cocktail up a while back. Long story short, it's a whiskey sour made with lime juice, which is not all that common. For this recipe I'm about to give you, I've rebalanced the original ratios to my liking and added a bit of demerara syrup. So here's my version of the Junior, AKA the Quick Recovery. In a shaking tin, start with 1.5 ounces of rye. To that, add 1/2 ounce of Benedictine, 3/4 ounce of fresh lime juice, 1/4 ounce of a rich demerara syrup, that's 2 parts sugar to 1 part water, and 2 dashes of Angostura bitters. Now, if you are using a small dasher bottle, as always, double up, 4 dashes from the little dasher. Now add ice and shake, and we can double strain into a chilled cocktail glass. Garnish however you'd like. I'm gonna add a dehydrated lime wheel, float it right on top, and there we have the Junior, or the Quick Recovery. Cheers. Well, well, well. Now this is a cocktail that looks like autumn because the lime wheel kind of looks dead. Let's give it a taste. Cheers. That's really nice. See, I think the original recipe, it was too thin and tart. And there's nothing wrong with those 2 things, but here's the thing, that rich demerara syrup helps to add sugar, obviously, but more importantly almost, it adds weight to the drink, so it gives it some texture. Now you could add more of the Benedictine, but then that Benedictine flavor is gonna be stronger. The toffee notes from the demerara go so well with the rye whiskey, so to me, this is a really tasty drink. It kind of falls between a Lion's Tail and the Monte Cassino, which is another favorite of mine. And you could even try this with bourbon, which is a whiskey. On to number 3, the Bourbon Renewal. We're gonna get these classics out of the way and focus on something a bit more modern. And when I say modern in the cocktail world, like 20 years old. Jeffrey Morgenthaler came up with this drink. He's come up with a lot of drinks, very well-known bartender. And That's all my notes say. Jeffrey Morgenthaler 20 years ago. I'm gonna give you the recipe now. Because it's a sour style cocktail, we're gonna shake this one up. So let's start with 2 ounces of bourbon. To that, half an ounce of creme de cassis. We do want a good creme de cassis here. If you have a bad creme de cassis, it might start tasting like cough syrup. This one I'm using is called something I can't pronounce, but I'm gonna attempt it anyway. It's creme de cassis de Dijon. I'm gonna say this with an American accent. Creme de cassis de Dijon by Jules Thurier. Now we can add 1 ounce of fresh lemon juice. Fresh is important. I pronounce it fresh. 1/4 ounce of a semi-rich simple syrup and 1 to 2 dashes of Angostura. I'm gonna go 2 dashes, actually 4 dashes, because again, I'm using a small dasher bottle, but I like the Ango in here. Shake that up, double strain onto a big block of ice or just on the rocks or up, it's up to you, and garnish with a lemon wheel. And there is the Bourbon Renewal. Cheers. Spilled it. Ah. You kidding me? God, this is just for looks. Cheers. Oh yeah, I like that one. There is a jamminess to it, kind of like these dark fruits, the black currant liqueur, obviously. But then there's the brightness from the lemon. And then you get this warming bourbon right in the middle. This time of year, it works on a hot day, it works on a cold day. It's a tasty beverage, man. If you want to learn more about this drink, then go watch that video. On to number 4. Oh, the Fallback Cocktail. Sorry, I'll leave the out. This one has a little story to it. Back in the spring, I came out with a little video of 3 springtime cocktails, and one of them was an original of mine, and I called it the Spring Forward. That's because of daylight savings time. In the spring, you spring forward your clock an hour. In the fall, you fall back an hour. So I thought when I made that one, oh, come fall, I'm gonna make another cocktail and call it the Fallback Cocktail. Well, that is not as original as I had hoped. The Fallback Cocktail already exists. It was created a decade ago by the late Sasha Petrasky, and it's even in his book regarding cocktails. I don't know how I missed it. It's essentially a riff on a Manhattan with notes of apple, which is perfect for the fall. In fact, he made this recipe for a fall menu. But I'm still a little bitter that he beat me to it. In a mixing glass, start with 1 ounce of rye whiskey, add 1 ounce of apple brandy or applejack. This one is 86 proof. I'm using a lower proof here because the rye whiskey that I'm using is 100 proof, and find that this drink can be a little hot. Now add half an ounce of Amaro Nonino. This is good if you have a bottle of this and you're only making paper plane cocktails. Then we can add half an ounce of sweet vermouth. I like a richer sweet vermouth here. In fact, in the book, Sasha says to use Carpano Antica, which is a richer vermouth. I'm using Coqui Vermouth de Torino, which is also a rich vermouth. Now we can add 2 dashes of Peychaud's bitters, or again, 4 with the tiny dashers. Stir that up about 30 seconds or so and strain off into a chilled cocktail glass. The standard garnish here is expressed orange oil across the top, but I'm gonna flame the orange oil because this is show business. And I think the toasty notes will be perfect for the season. There we have the Fallback Cocktail. Cheers. They're making the Gollum movie now, I think. I'm gonna go to New Zealand and be in it. Cheers. That's pretty nice. If you're a Manhattan drinker, you gotta give it a shot. I get the sweet vermouth, and because it's a lighter Amaro that we're using here, it really blends in nicely. It doesn't overpower anything, doesn't make it overly bitter. And the Peychaud bitters kind of gives it like a New Orleans feel. The apple component is subtle, but it's there. 2 thumbs up from this guy. This is exactly the cocktail I was gonna make and call the Fallback Cocktail. So there it is, 4 whiskey cocktails for you to try this fall. And if you want to keep going and up your game even more and learn how to make these big clear ice chunks that I used in 2 of the drinks, be sure to watch my clear ice video here, or you could watch this video. We should have cards here by now. Thank you for watching. Don't forget your merch. I will see you next time. Cheers.